Alright, let's play the Battle of Shiloh, or at least try to. This is part of my Shiloh side-by-side exploration using scenarios from Blue and Grey and across 5 Aprils. I chose this battle mainly because it's the only one that the two games have in common. And I thought that these would make a nice introduction to the topic of the American Civil War. I also have a House Divided waiting to be played. So I figured I wanted to get them played sooner rather than later. Why not play them side by side? The goal is to simply play them both back to back or over roughly the same period of time. Record those experiences, of course, and hopefully try to eventually get around to posting them here. Apologies in advance if there's any delay. I just don't have the same free time that I did when I started the channel a few years ago, but I will do my best, and thank you as always for your patience. I really appreciate it. So let's get started with the shorter, simpler, smaller of the two, which you see here from Blue and Grey, all set up and ready to go. It looks different than it did in the intro because afterwards I finished setting up and noticed that I was missing a few Confederate counters, not only from the board but also from my copy of the game, which is too bad. But this can happen when buying used, especially a game this old. The overall quality of the components was very good, and the previous owner did include the spare blank counters that came with the game that I guess I can use to make new ones eventually. But better yet, for now at least, an easier solution was to find substitute counters from other scenarios in the pack, which did work out, so no big deal. One of the nice things about the Quadra pack, actually, and in this case we do have a few counters on the board that have the wrong leader's name printed on them, but it has no effect on the gameplay, of course. I also moved this counter over hex. I originally had it set up here, which not only is wrong, but would have been strange considering that there's a special movement restriction in effect for the first 2 game turns that forces all Union units that are not locked in Confederate zones of control to move 1 hex and only 1 hex, either to the north or to the northeast, Union player's choice during their movement phase. So that's basically back towards these creeks and or Pittsburgh Landing, which is this hex 1508, which I've marked with this blue bingo chip sold separately to show that this very important hex, it begins under Union control, and this is not only the one and only objective hex in this scenario, important when determining victory conditions, but also the entry point of most of these Union reinforcements once they cross the river. There are also some entry points over on the northern map edge here for the Union gunboats, the Lexington and the Tyler that arrive on turn 5, and then here's another entry point for some other units as well. And they will be moving along this road across Snake Creek Bridge. So, speaking of objective hexes, let's go ahead and take a look at the victory conditions. So, victory is determined by the accumulation of victory points. Victory points are awarded as play progresses for the elimination of enemy combat strength points. Victory is also determined by the occupation of hex 1508. And it clarifies further down below that this also includes having been the last to have moved a friendly unit into the hex in question. 1 victory point is scored for each enemy strength point destroyed. And then there are various levels of victory, decisive, substantive, and marginal victory levels for each player. For a Confederate decisive victory, the Confederate player must have twice as many victory points as the Union player and occupy hex 1508. For a substantive victory, the Confederate player must occupy hex 1508 and have at least as many victory points as the Union player. And for a marginal Confederate victory, the player must have at least twice as many victory points as the Union player, period. The Union decisive and substantive victory levels are much the same, just reversed, mirrored. And for a marginal Union victory, the Union player must occupy Hex 1508 and have more than half the number of victory points as the Confederate player, and I believe that that is basically the historical outcome. So, yeah. And finally, I should mention again that I'm playing this solo learning game using the attack effectiveness optional rule, which is kind of an intriguing rule the more you learn about it. I don't usually like using optional rules for these kinds of games, especially, learning games, especially when soloing them, but it's mentioned a few times by the designer of the scenario, Christopher Allen, in his player's notes, and it's explained here in the designer's notes. I'm not sure who wrote these, this is part of the standard rules, that it was originally an organic part of the game but was appendixed in the pursuit of simplicity. But looking at the rule itself, it really doesn't seem like it would add very much in the way of complexity, and it looks like it might be kind of fun to try out, so I figured, why not? Now, I read a couple of interesting things online, and because of that I'm not sure how much truth there is to them, but the first thing was that this rule is especially recommended when playing this scenario as well as the scenario for Antietam in particular. And I think I read that it was because those were actually the two scenarios that were meant to be played using this rule. It was not necessarily meant to be played in all the scenarios across the board, even back when it was part of the standard system. And the second thing that I read was that perhaps another reason that the rule was removed, or maybe even the real reason, and this makes a lot of sense to me, had to do with production costs, because as it stands, the rule suggests that when a unit becomes ineffective, that you invert the counter by flipping it over, and these are, as you can see, single-sided. But since the rule isn't really meant to simulate a fog of war, and that can get harder to track, it suggested that the players lightly pencil in the unit's combat strengths on the backs of the counters. And I can imagine how that might, upset or annoy some customers if it were part of the core system, and how the publisher might feel obligated or even required to include a separate set of counters for ineffective units, thus doubling the number of counters included in the game, or somehow expand the rules to deal with it in some other way, thus making it more complex than it needs to be. Anyway, in this playthrough, I'll simply turn the counter sideways, 90 degrees, a simple fix, but I think this is really only doable when soloing the game, because you have a system with the facing of the counters. They're all facing one direction, and when they become ineffective, I can turn them to face another direction. It gets a little harder when playing face-to-face, I'm sure, because it gets a little more chaotic and messy on the board, and players like to handle their counters differently. And I know they're usually facing the player, so they'd be facing opposite directions, and yeah, it can get kind of confusing. But I think this will be a simple fix. Hopefully you can easily see it on the board, on your screens. I might resort to using these through the ages yellow cylindrical wooden bits that I'm always trying to find an excuse to use, but I fear that that might just make things more fiddly. Plus they're stacking, it can get confusing, and I think that these bits would probably actually cover up the combat strengths of the units, which is kind of the whole point of turning them sideways. So I think that's enough rambling. Let's get started with turn 1, which is the early morning of April 6th, 1862. The Confederate player is the first player. We resolve movement and then combat and proceed to the Union half the turn. Should be quick and easy. I think for the most part I'll just play the game, ignoring the camera, inspired by the Callisto Plays series, and just, solo the game as I might normally do off camera, and that still entails a lot of thinking aloud anyway, so it shouldn't be much different. So let's get started. So here's a closer view. All of these units have a movement allowance of 6, so there's no real distinction between infantry, cavalry, and artillery units when it comes to movement and their speed. The stacking limit is 2 units per hex, enforced at the end of the movement phase, even when moving via roads. So yeah, it's all very simplified representation. I also wanted to talk just a bit more about the attack effectiveness rule. This crossed my mind after looking at the board and trying to decide what to do here initially. I realized that this rule will have a substantial effect on how I go about things in general, and I'm sure you'll see this right off the bat with my opening Confederate moves. Basically, where I might otherwise, without the rule, go for lower odds attacks on the 1-to-1, maybe even 1-to-2, in hopes of inflicting a DR result depending on the situation, as long as we have our retreat path of our own. With the rule in effect, especially in the beginning, especially as the Confederate player, I think, who receives no reinforcements, we are really trying to avoid the AR result, which would render our units ineffective, unable to attack, although they do still defend with their full combat strength and exert a zone of control. This lasts until the night turn, which is turn 7, roughly the middle of the game. And if it's after turn 7, this lasts through the end of the game. And as the Confederate player, we can't afford to have ineffective units all over the place in the beginning, because we are trying to meet a timeline here of ideally capturing Pittsburgh Landing before nightfall, and maybe even Snake Creek Bridge while we're at it, ideally. And this is to prevent the Union reinforcements, the Army of the Ohio, from linking up with those in the board, the Army of the Tennessee. So I think that we're going to try to, at least here in the beginning, avoid anything less than a 2-to-1 odds for the most part, and even that can be kind of risky because on a 5 or a 6 you get an AR. The sweet spot on the CRT is definitely the 3-to-1 table, because not only are there no AR results, there's less of a chance of getting an exchange result than even the 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 tables, which is kind of interesting. Of course, we'll see how much opportunity we'll have to mount 3-to-1 attacks. I'm not so sure, especially when dealing with units in rough terrain, which doubles the defensive strength of those units. This is all situational, of course. It depends on how far ahead of schedule we feel we are, how wide the victory point margin is at the time, case by case, and especially how close to that night turn we are. So I think here in the beginning I'll probably play it safe, maybe too safe, I'm not sure, and just work off of what kind of progress we make. So, I have my eye on these 2 forward infantry brigades in clear terrain. I think we can do something here against the units in the right, Union right flank in the forest, and other than maybe bombardment attacks, I think for the most part we'll be moving units using these roads that we're heavily reliant upon to get us quickly through this dense forest terrain, which otherwise would cost 3 movement points apiece, towards the center, towards the eastern side of the board, and maybe position ourselves just outside of Union zones of control to later take up the positions that these units will be abandoning over the course of the first 2 turns because of the movement restriction, rather than trying to attack those head-on. At least that's the idea, unless we have a good opportunity to, surround and eliminate a unit. And of course, for the most part, that's going to be through retreat results. It's a fairly retreat-heavy, bloodless CRT. So, let's see. I think we can mount a 3-to-1 here against this unit from 2 adjacent hexes. I don't think we could do the same for both. That's where artillery comes in to deal with active zones of control, and I think I'll bring a 1 strength down to bombard this. It would be on the 1-to-5, which is essentially no effect because non-adjacent bombarding units do not suffer adverse combat results. They do not become ineffective. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I think I can mount a 3-to-1 here from this hex, avoiding this unit zone of control, which is defending in rough forest. Forest terrain does not double the defensive strength of units, but it does block line of sight. Line of sight, artillery units have a range of 3 hexes. Units do not block line of sight, only forest terrain, and it's the intervening hexes. And if line of sight falls along the hex side, if only one side of that line is blocking terrain, then line of sight is established. So we can bombard the 1-strength cavalry brigade that's in the forest here. We might bombard here or here, probably here, to focus on the center, and then see how far east we can get. So I have a 9 and a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sticking to the roads. Up here, stack a 9 and 6. We have a 9 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll choose one of these many 6s to join it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe one of the ones that's further away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can bombard here. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna bombard on the 3-to-1. So that goes 1, 2, 3, 4. I plan to stack units here. I don't think it makes much of a difference. And then we have a 4 strength, we have a 2 strength. These are artillery units for a total of 6 that I think I'll bring down here to bombard this unit, which is defending in forest rough. So it's at 12, and the bombardment would be on the 1 to 2. We might get a DR result. I don't know how much of a difference it'll make. We'll see. 1, 2, 3. Not thinking too hard about things here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now let's just move the other units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stacking here. And I'm doing this in detail here on the first turn. We'll probably be skipping over a lot of this starting next turn, just fast forwarding to the action or the parts that I think are interesting, confusing, or exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count to 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's as far as we can get to the east. There's some 9s up back here that I might bring forward in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll stack here, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, stacking there. We'll stack 2 6s here, 2, 2, and we'll just bring this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stack with the artillery. Okay. So now for the combat phase. Alright, so let's resolve this first. So we're attacking with a 6 and a 9 for 15 against this 5 strength in clear terrain. 15 to 5 or 3 to 1. We roll a 4, which is a DR result, and this defending unit will retreat a hex, and it will go straight back into the forest. We will advance 1 victorious unit, the 9 strength. 1 to 5, no effect on the bombardment. This here is a 6 to 12, because this unit is in Forest Rough. 1 to 2. We roll a 5 on 1 to 2 is an AR, no effect. And let's resolve this bombardment on the 3 to 1. We roll a 2, which is a DR. This unit will retreat back into the Forest Rough. Now this, we have a 6 and a 9 for 15 against this 5, which is in forest terrain. And that has no effect on the unit's combat strength. So that is a straight 3 to 1. We roll a 3 for a DR result. And this unit will retreat back this way to join the 1 strength cavalry unit. And we will go ahead and advance the 9 and force them to attack us on the 1 to 1. And that, I think, ends the Confederate half of turn 1. Union movement. So the movement restriction is in effect. I think for the most part we'll just move straight back. We'll probably see more movement to the northeast on turn 2, I'm guessing. Of course, this is a learning game, so expect mistakes and suboptimal moves. Actually, expect those even when they're not learning games. As usual, I will try to make a note of any mistakes I notice in the description box below the corresponding video, and these lists tend to grow over time. Okay. I should probably not talk while I'm doing this. Where am I going with this? I'm not sure. I like the Forest Rough. Yeah, okay, straight back for everyone. Keep it simple. We'll learn from our mistakes, I guess. So, yeah, that's it for Union movement. Now let's resolve combat. So we have to deal with 1, 2, 3 enemy units. And I guess we'll start up here. So we have 6 in this hex, plus 3, plus another 5, 14, 9. And that's going to be on the 1 to 1. Let me use the different colored die. That was a result of a 2. So a 2 on the 1 to 1 is a DR result. So we lucked out there and are not now forced to retreat and become ineffective. The 9 will retreat, stack back with the 6. We have the option to advance 1 victorious unit. I'll bring the 5 forward. Now down here, I don't think we'll be so lucky because we're dealing with 2 1 to 2 attacks. We have to basically, active zones of control. I'm sure you know that what that entails. So I'll just go ahead and resolve this. 5 to 6, 1 to 2. Okay, that's a 4 on the 1 to 2. So that is an AR result. And we have our first ineffective unit. So I'll turn it sideways and retreat it a hex. Now this. 7 plus 1 is 8 to 9. Another 1 to 2. Reroll a 5. And that is also an AR. So we now have 4 ineffective units. Maybe I need to get my tweezers. Okay. So that stack just retreated straight back. We brought the 1 strength cavalry here. And I think that does it. Do we have any opportunities? We didn't have any opportunities to bombard. Right. So that ends turn 1. Turn 2, Confederate movement. So here we are after knocking the tripod over, making a big mess, before Confederate movement. And here we are after. Let's resolve the Confederate combat phase. Let's begin up here. And we'll resolve this attack. Same units as last time. 9 and a 6 for 15 to 5, 3 to 1. And we roll a 5, which is a DR. And I must choose... Oh man. Okay, let's go this way. We will advance the 9 and now go for this. So this is 5 strength in the forest rough, so it's defending at 10, and we have 3 here, 6 here, 2 6s, a 3 back here, and another 6 here. So 3 bombarding artillery units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6s at 30 to 10, 3 to 1. And we roll a 3, which is a DR result. And this unit is destroyed, our first destroyed Union unit. We will advance the 6 and resolve this attack. This is with a 9 and a 6. They are in the Shiloh church hex and will be attacking the 5 strength Union infantry brigade in the clear just beyond the forest rough on the 3 to 1. And we roll a 3, which is a DR. And this unit will retreat, I'm guessing, towards Pittsburgh Landing. What is this? 11, 17. We will advance the 9. Oh, there's a 4 here. Oh well. And move down here. So we have 7 strength stacked with a 2 just in case we roll a 6 for an exchange against this 1 strength ineffective cavalry unit in clear terrain. We're resolving this on the 6th one because attacks executed at greater than 6 to 1 are treated as 6 to 1. And we roll a 3, which is a DE. So another destroyed unit. We'll advance the 7. And what are we doing? We are resolving this now against this stack of ineffective units of 5 strength infantry, 2 strength artillery in the forest, So we are attacking with this stack of 15 plus these 2 artillery units. So that's another 6. 21 is 7. 3 to 1. We roll a 4, which is a DR, and these units retreat. They'll continue straight back, I guess. We'll advance the 9. Okay, let's see. What was I doing? Oh yes, okay. So now we have a stack of 15 here against this 5 on the 3 to 1. And we roll a 1, which is a DE. This unit is destroyed. Our 3rd destroyed Union unit. 11th destroyed Union SP. And we will advance the, let's see, the 9, not thinking too hard about this. All right, so now we have to deal with this from back here with a stack of 3 artillery SPs. They're defending with twice their combat strength, so they're at 12. So that's on the 1 to 4, and I don't even need to roll for that because that's going to be a no effect with AR and AE results only possible. And that ends the Confederate half of turn 2. And here we are after Union movement. Let's resolve combat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Confederate units to deal with. We have a number of ineffective units that will not be able to attack. Let's see what we can do. So starting down here, we have a stack of ineffective units. They will need to end the combat phase not in an enemy zone of control somehow. So we will resolve this. 6 to 9, 1 to 2. And I roll a 6, which is an AE, attacker eliminated. Another destroyed Union unit. This stack of units will need to retreat. We can go ahead and do that. We have another 1 to 2 here. I roll a 1 this time. That's a DR. We will remain where we are. I suppose we can go. Yeah, that's fine. And let's see. Here we have a 6 strength infantry unit that will need to attack this unit that's in Forest Rough, as well as this 9 strength in the clear. 6 to 21, 1 to 4. Rounding in the defender's favor. And we roll a 5. 5 on the 1 to 4 is an AE. Ouch. Another destroyed Union unit. Not good. Let's do this. So we need to attack both the 9 and the 6. And a stack of units must attack together, the same target. So yeah, we're gonna have to do a 1 to 9, which will be resolved on the 1 to 5 because attacks executed at worse than 1 to 5 are treated as 1 to 5. Here we go. And I roll a 6. Yeah, another AE. This is pretty devastating. And now this stack of 8 SPs will attack this 6 strength, which is in the Forest Rough. So it's defending at 12. Age 12, 1 to 2. 1 to 2. And I roll a 5, which is an AR. Okay, so it survives, but is now ineffective. So I'll turn them both sideways and move them this way. Our only option. What about this? This, I think, is slightly better. We have 12 plus 5, 17 plus 4 for 21 to 9, 2 to 1. Oh man, my rolls. I roll a 5 on the 2 to 1, which is an AR. So these units, the non-artillery units, are going to retreat and become ineffective. So let's see. A stack of units can retreat separately in 2 separate directions. 1, 2. Let's see here. I shouldn't think too hard about it. Okay, let's just move. All right. Turn 3, Confederate movement. All right, so for the combat phase, we'll be dealing with at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 enemy units. Let's start down here. This is a bit riskier than what I've been doing, but we'll see how it works out. We are attacking with this stack of 11 SPs, and this unit is defending at 5. So 11 to 5 is 2 to 1, and we get a 1. So that worked out. A 2 to 1 is a DR, and this unit has its back to this creek, which can only be crossed at bridges or fords, so it has a retreat path free of enemy zones of control, so this unit is destroyed, and we may advance 1 unit, but we'll stay where we are. Next, our target is this 6 strength infantry unit in the forest. We're attacking with 1, 2, 3 adjacent units, as well as the stack of 3 artillery SPs. So we are at 15 plus 3, 18 to 6, another 3 to 1. We roll a 2, which is a DR, and this unit has a retreat path, so it is destroyed. We may advance 1 unit. Next, this stack of 7 SPs in the forest. We are attacking with 2 adjacent stacks. We have 15 here and 16 here for 31 to 7, 4 to 1. I'm going to call a voluntary reduction of odds to 3 to 1. And we roll a 3, which is a DR, and I did that to lower the chances of an exchange. 3 to 1 is a DR. The defending stack may split up when retreating, and we will advance. What was the plan? A 9. Which 9? Let's see. This 9, I guess. Okay, next. Up here, what was I doing? We have a stack of 9 SPs here. This unit's defending at 6 in the forest. We have another 9 here, which brings us to 18. Yeah, 3 to 1. A roll of 5, which is a DR. On the 4 to 1, that would have been an exchange. I think I had artillery here, yeah. So what was that, a DR? Okay. So this unit retreats. I'm guessing towards Pittsburgh Landing. We may advance a unit. Yes. We'll advance the 9 and resolve this attack, which is from this stack plus this stack of artillery. So it's defending at 6. We have 12 here plus another 6 with line of sight over the hex side. Only one side, which is blocking terrain. 3 to 1. Ooh, we roll a 6. That is an exchange. So this unit is eliminated, but we must also lose one of our own. That's the first destroyed Confederate unit. We'll go ahead and advance the victorious unit since the target hex is now vacated. And then we have to deal with this, which we're bombarding with this 3 strength artillery unit, which is stacked here with, 6 strength infantry. So this unit is defending at twice its strength, so it's actually at 10. 3 to 10, 1 to 4, no effect. ARs and AEs. So that ends the Confederate combat phase. Yes. Moving on to the Union half of the turn. Alright, let's try this and see how it goes. So, it's the Union combat phase of turn 3 now, and we have some mandatory retreats here by ineffective units. So, bring this back a hex, stack here, and then we have 1 attack that we will be resolving with the effective units in this CSA. So we have 6 plus 3 plus another 4 and 5 for a 2 to 1 against the 9 strength Confederate Infantry Brigade in the forest. We roll a 3 on the 2 to 1 is a DR result. So unit retreats. And yeah. I think we will remain where we are. Yeah. Alright, so that ends turn 3, entering turn 4, Confederate movement. So here's the plan for turn 4 Confederate combat. We have an attack planned here and here in the rough with the support of artillery. We're also planning a 3 to 1 down here, as well as a pair of attacks here in the center in clear terrain. So let's move the camera in a bit and see what happens. Alright, so let's start up here, which is kind of an interesting situation. Our plan is to first target this ineffective 6th Strength Union Infantry Brigade in rough terrain on the 2 to 1 with this stack of 2 9s plus this stack of 6 artillery SPs. And hopefully we can roll low enough to force a retreat and advance into this hex to then target this 5 strength infantry unit also in rough terrain and cut off its retreat path. Otherwise, though this is at its stacking limit back here, this unit would be able to retreat this way and displace one of these friendly units, which will then retreat another hex back. If this stack had no retreat path, then the original unit would be destroyed. But let's see how it works out. So this is a bit risky, but we're getting closer to that night turn and a bit more desperate. We want to at least secure Snake Creek Bridge if we can't get Pittsburgh Landing. So 2-1. And we roll a 3, which works out for us, so that's a DR. And this unit will retreat this way, and we will advance 9. Now we're targeting the 5 strength, also in rough terrain, so it's at 10, and we have 12 plus 9 for 21, 23 plus 7 for 30. 30 to 10 is 3-1. And we roll a 2, which is a DR result. So this unit is eliminated or destroyed. And let's see. We have 8 here. This stack will have to retreat. I think we'll just stay where we are. Or we can get closer to this road. Let's do that. So we'll advance this 6. Next, down here, this is a stack of 9 Union SPs. We're attacking from 2 adjacent hexes. We have 16 here, plus 11 for 27, 27 to 9, 3-1, and we roll a 4, which is a DR result. And this stack will retreat this way, and we will advance. What is this, a 9? I guess it doesn't really matter here. Let's see, what are we attacking here with? Oh, these are 2-1s, I think. So we'll advance the 9 and move on to these attacks, which are a bit more risky, but I have some 6s back here just in case this doesn't work out. So let's see. I think this is even a 1-1. So they're defending here at 8 in clear terrain, and we have a stack here of 8. So let's go ahead and resolve that first on the 1-1, 50-50 chance of a DR. And we roll a 4, which is an AR result, and I think these will be our first ineffective Confederate units here on turn 4. So these units need to not only retreat, but and we'll have to split them up. They become ineffective just until turn 7. Now this, I think this was a bit better. We're at 8 here for the Union side, and we're attacking with 16, so that's 2-1. We roll a 5. I think that's actually an AR result. Yeah, you can see why I've been avoiding really actually anything lower than 3-1. So our units will retreat. Uh-oh. I didn't take this into account, and I totally screwed up here. No, actually, because, alright, we have the displacement rule. So we'll go ahead and move the 7 down this way, and the 9 back, displacing a friendly unit. We'll move the 1 back and stack here. And those actually become, whoops, ineffective, so I'll have to turn them sideways. I'll get the hang of this eventually. Alright. So, yeah. Now we have, what, 4 ineffective Confederate units all along the line here. Not good, because time is of the essence. We have 2 more combat phases to try to take Pittsburgh Landing. It's probably more likely we'll make it up to the bridge here. So we'll see what happens. That ends the Confederate half of turn 4. And here we are after the Union movement phase of turn 4. Not exactly sure what I'm doing, but we'll see how it works out. We'll start up here by retreating some ineffective units from enemy zones of control. I'll retreat straight back. And let's see, what are we doing? Six. I think we'll move this here. And resolve this attack on the 1-1. And we roll a 1, which is a DR result. So this unit retreats, and we will remain where we are. And that ends turn 4. Entering turn 5. Here we are just before the Confederate movement phase of turn 5. I've moved the camera back so that you can see the entry of our first Union reinforcements. This is the turn in which the Lexington and the Tyler first appear on the map, right here. And of course they're restricted to all river hexes. They have an unlimited movement allowance and attack just like artillery. However, they do not exert a zone of control, are unaffected by Confederate zones of control, and may never be attacked. And we also received this 5 strength infantry brigade as the Union player, which appears here. And it costs 1 movement point to place the unit in this hex. So the furthest that it will be able to make it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right up to this hex. And in the next turn it would be able to cross the river. The river ferry hex itself costs 3 movement points to enter. So let's get started. Actually, before we start moving Confederate units, I need to make one correction, and if you caught this mistake, good job. Basically, when we retreated this 9 strength during the Union combat phase of turn 4, I should have displaced an existing unit from this hex, since we already have 2 units in the hex. So let's do this, and then move this way instead. Alright, so now for the Confederate movement phase. And here we are after Union movement. So we have stacked the gunboats in this hex right beside Pittsburgh Landing, though they're still out of range from enemy units. We have our 5 strength reinforcement at the river, ready to cross it on the next turn via ferry. And we're ready to resolve the combat phase. So let's start by retreating the stack of ineffective units. Luckily we have a clear retreat path here through the forest, so run away. Next, this attack against the 6 strength Confederate infantry brigade. In clear terrain, we're attacking with a 6, an 8, and a 4 strength artillery unit from back here. So that brings us to the 18-6 or 3-1. Oh, we roll a 1. That's a DE. Wow, okay. So this unit is eliminated. We will remain where we are and proceed to this attack. Forget what I said. There is a chance that we could actually not only force this unit to retreat, but also become destroyed in the process if we roll low enough. So this unit is a 9 strength infantry unit in rough terrain. We are attacking with a 6. And this is a stack of 9 SPs of artillery. That brings us to 15 plus 3 from back here. 18-18. Can we roll a 3 or lower? No, we cannot. That is a 4. So that is a DR result. The Confederate player is incredibly relieved. And we must retreat our units. So, Okay, so that means that this stack must retreat. Both units are ineffective. There's nothing else we can do about that, and we are unable to retreat through hexes that are not enemy occupied or enemy controlled. So this stack is destroyed, and that's 11 SPs. Wow, okay, so that ends turn 5. And here we are after the Confederate movement phase of turn 6. We have, for the combat phase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets to deal with. Let's begin down here. Our first target is a 4-strength Union Artillery Brigade in rough terrain, so it's defending with 8 SPs, and we're attacking with 7 from here, another 11, we're at 18, I think we have 6 more from this stack, and here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So that is 24 to 8, 3 to 1. Oh, we roll a 6. That's an exchange. This 4-strength artillery unit is eliminated. And we lose a 5-strength infantry unit. We will advance the 6 into the rough, I think. Yeah, and resolve this, because this here, what is it? Oh, I think it's 2 to 1, isn't it? Our target is this 8-strength unit. Maybe we should just do this. Okay, so this is an 8-strength Union Infantry Brigade in clear terrain. We have a stack of 6 here, plus another 4. No, is that what we're doing? 6. Yeah, 12, 16 for 2 to 1. And we roll a 5, which is an AR, and that did not work out. And we have ineffective units. So this stack must retreat. We'll retreat this way and displace the 2-strength artillery. And now we are bombarding this unit from back here. It's a 6-strength infantry unit in the rough, so it's at 12, 1 to 5, because attacks executed at worse than 1 to 5 are treated as 1 to 5, which is no effect for non-adjacent attacking artillery units. Now up here, let's see. Okay, so we're starting up here. This is a stack of 8 ineffective Union SPs in the forest. We're attacking from here. 9, that's on the 1 to 1. And we get a 5, which is an AR result. Okay, so that didn't work out. We will retreat. And become ineffective. Alright, well, now this is a 6-strength ineffective Union Infantry Brigade in Forest Rough, and we're attacking from here. The 15, no, the 15, that's 30, plus 6 artillery SPs from back here. 1, 2, 3. So that is 36. 36 to 12, 3 to 1. We roll a 3, which is a DR, and this unit retreats back. We may advance 1 unit. I'll advance this 9, and yeah, that'll end the Confederate half of turn 6. So Union movement, let's see, we are receiving a whole bunch of reinforcements. These 2 stacks, where do they begin? The 2 strength artillery. Okay, so this stack of 5 units appears at hex 901, which is up here, and then this stack of 6 units appears down here. So here we are after the Union movement phase of turn 6. You can see that we're in some trouble. The Confederate forces are now within 1 hex of Pittsburgh Landing and 1 hex of this side of Snake Creek Bridge. And we don't have a lot to work with. So, we did receive this 3 strength artillery brigade as reinforcements this turn, which moved along the road all the way up to this hex for 6 movement points. And it should be able to bombard this hex, I believe, since it's within range and we're able to trace a clear line of sight. So that would be on the 1 to 2, allowing this unit, this 8 strength Union Infantry Brigade, to join in this attack. Now, this is a tough unit, a 7th strength Confederate Infantry Brigade in rough terrain, so it's defending at twice its combat strength. Yeah, so that's at 14. We, I think, can make it up to the 2 to 1 with this 5, this 8, so that's 13. Both gunboats. So that's at 16 plus this 3 strength artillery unit. 1, 2, 3. 19 plus another 9 in artillery from here. 28. Precisely. 28 to 14, 2 to 1. Let's see what we get. Oh, we roll a 6. That is an AR result. Not good. So these 2 units must retreat. They become ineffective. Okay. 1 to 2. A 5. No effect. Up here, I did move a reinforcement into this hex crossing the bridge, even though it will be attacking at low odds. Since it's turn 6, it should recover in the next turn, which is the night turn. So what is that? 5 to 18, 1 to 4, 1 to 4. And we roll a 3, which is an AR. This unit becomes ineffective, retreats, and we'll also have to move this out. And this stack, yeah, has no retreat path. Unfortunately, there is no bridge or ford across this hex side or this hex side, so that's another 8 SPs that are destroyed, and that includes this 3 strength artillery unit. And that ends the Union combat phase. That ends turn 6. Turn 7, the night turn. So let's take a look at the rules for night turns. There's no combat phase during a night game turn, and no combat is allowed. Opposing adjacent units do not engage in combat. Okay, they simply remain in place. Artillery units may not bombard during night game turns. So no bombarding gunboats. Movement restrictions are identical to day game turn movement restrictions with one addition. Units may not enter enemy-controlled hexes during a night game turn, nor may units already in enemy-controlled hexes exit them. What about attack effectiveness? Recovery of attack effectiveness. The loss of attack effectiveness continues for a given unit until the end of any night game turn. At the end of any night game turn, all units are immediately flipped face up and resume. In the following game turn, a full attack effectiveness repeated. There's some funny typos in the rulebook. So let's get started. Here we are after the Confederate half of the night turn. And this is after the Union half of turn 7. That ends the night turn. All the units on the board are now effective again. And you can see that, at least for now, technically, Pittsburgh Landing is still under Union control, but not for long because now the Confederate player will resolve their movement phase for turn 8. Game turn 8, post-Confederate movement. We have taken Pittsburgh Landing. We didn't do it before the night turn, but we did it first thing the next morning. And this means that Union reinforcements will not be able to get across the river as long as there's at least one Confederate unit in this hex. If it's merely in a Confederate zone of control, then they would be able to move across using the river ferry hex in this direction only, from east to west. You can see that we did not move forward to block access across Snake Creek Bridge, and instead have positioned ourselves just outside of Confederate zones of control, so that if these reinforcements do move across the bridge, they would have to attack us at unfavorable odds. So this is our main concern here, maintaining control of Pittsburgh Landing. It may switch hands several times, we'll find out. But we are kind of backing off here because we are well ahead in terms of victory points. We have 81 to the Union's 26. So let's go ahead and resolve combat. So our first attack will be here against these 13 Union infantry SPs in clear terrain. We are attacking with these two stacks. 15 plus 13, that's 28. Plus this stack of artillery, 4 for 32, plus another 7. Yeah, 39 to 13 is 3 to 1. And we roll a 3, which is a DR. The stack will retreat back into the rough. And we will remain where we are, stacked in Pittsburgh Landing for now at least. And then we have this bombardment. It's on the 1 to 5, no effect. That ends the Union half of turn 8. Confederate half of turn 8. Union movement. Alright, so all the action is down here. Let's go ahead and resolve this. And I don't think it's looking very good. We have, a 1 to 1 here. They're at 15. We have 11 plus 4 in artillery. Oh, we roll a 2, which is a DR. And we'll advance the 6. I don't really want to, but I feel like I have to. So we'll see what happens. We have next this target, 13 infantry SPs in clear terrain. And we have, 13 here. Plus 10, 23, 24, 25, 26. So 2 to 1. Get the right die. Not that it matters because you can't really see it. Oh man. Yeah, we rolled a 6. We just needed to roll lower than a 5. And we rolled a 6. So that's an AR. We are in really big trouble. I don't even know what to do. And those are ineffective. All right, turn 9. We got some more reinforcements that unfortunately will not be able to cross the river, at least not yet. Turn 9 Confederate combat. We'll start here on the 6-1. So this is a 6 strength unit in clear terrain. We have a 9, another 9 plus 2, 20, 26. Plus 13, 39 to 6. It rounds to 6-1. We roll a 3, which is a DE. This unit is destroyed. We'll go ahead and advance this 9. We have a bombardment here on the 1-5, no effect. And we actually have, we're going to do this. So this unit is a 6 strength Union Infantry Brigade in rough terrain. And we are attacking with 12 from here. Another 12 in artillery from these 2 hexes. So that's 2-1. We roll a 5 on the 2-1 AR. Okay, so this stack is ineffective and must retreat. And we will displace this unit, become ineffective, and we'll displace both. Alright, so it's only turn 9, but I think it's pretty clear at this point that this is a Confederate victory. And, you know, we could bombard this hex on the 1-1 with all of our artillery, except for this back here. And we might be able to, you know, eventually force a retreat, advance a unit, if we have enough effective units available, to then quickly be pushed back out of that hex, is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to say that this is not only a Confederate victory, but we're at the victory levels. A decisive Confederate victory. Yeah. You know, I suppose the proper thing would be to play out all 13 turns. I mean, there's just 4 more to go, but you know, it's too painful, and it's pretty clear what's going on. So yeah, I mean, I can show you the dead piles. We have the Confederate dead pile, 4 units, and we have the Union dead pile. It's like too big to even fit on the screen. Yeah, all of that. So I think I'm gonna, oh, one more. I think I'm gonna call it a game and call it a night. And hopefully that was an interesting playthrough for you to watch. I don't usually do it in this much detail. It was enjoyable. And I think I'm gonna have to really think about how to go about things as the Union player for my next game. So that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Good night.